So my name is Nick Mima. Been involved with doing programs for folks going through relationship ending for the last 8 years. And so been involved with creating 10-week programs to help people through that process and joined with Kevin to create more programs than I was able to do by myself. So tonight what we're offering is support for folks who are going through relationship ending, and this is your first holiday season and you're a parent. And so we really wanted to be critically supportive of you at a critical time. And so if you ever have interest in our programs, look at our website. We're always starting something new. We're starting a new 10-week program in a couple of weeks. And phone numbers are on the website too. So glad to talk to you about that. So tonight, what we want to do is talk about how to deal with parenting in the holidays and do that as well as possible. So want to start with a reminder, a reaffirmation of what you already know to be true, which is that your role as parent is probably your most important purpose until they're at least 18 years of age. I say that because sometimes people don't realize that it is their primary, if not one of the most primary purposes that we have. And so I just want to affirm that to start with. And the second is taking care of yourself. So here we're approaching the holidays, which are inherently somewhat stressful. And now you're going to, in some ways, be probably some of the time anyway, a single parent in that role. Um, Maybe there are sometimes that you'll share with your ex, or a lot of times that doesn't happen. So my assumption is, for the most part, that you're going to be the primary parent for at least some of the holiday periods of time. So self-care is really, really important, and it's oftentimes not what people think about. And so, you can't give care to anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. And many of us have not really learned to do that. And so, just getting some rest, good nutrition, some exercise, paying attention to when you need to take a quick nap, or and then also support. When Kevin and I were putting this together, he had listed three keys to surviving the holidays with your kids. And so for me, the first one is self-care, and the second is getting support. Now, I want to elaborate on getting support, because that's one of the most critical things that you can do. Now, support can be from professionals like us offering the programs that we do, also a therapist, but also really good friends and relatives. And so wherever possible, just line that up ahead of time. Um, if you have a best friend, know what her or his schedule is ahead of time, so that the two of you can have a half hour I'm making up the time frame, but just a conversation where you can just just de-stress in the conversation, just vent a little bit if you need to. And also support can be relatives that can come to your house, or you go to their house, and they can support with cooking and with activities. So that's a really important part of what getting through the holidays is not doing it all by yourself. And the third is having a plan, really in your own mind, working out ahead of time, what are you going to do on Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving? What are you going to do on Thanksgiving Day? And then there's the vacation when the kids are not in school, if they are still in school, and then planning that out ahead of time, really having a sense of what that's going to be. And then Christmas, New Year's is oftentimes an afterthought for people, not always so critical, but still having a plan for each of these and thinking about it ahead of time. My experience is a lot of times people don't plan ahead and they find themselves alone and very susceptible to depression and a lot of expression of grief and sadness, which is ideally not what you're going to be doing with the kids when they're with you on the holidays. So not to say you won't have your emotions, but hopefully you'll have ways that you can express them without the kids having to be witness to that. So keeping it simple is we said 3 keys, but keeping it simple is really critical because a lot of times we really make things very complex and get very, very busy and de-stressing. So for a lot of people, the holidays are so stressful. Do what you can to keep them as simple, as stress-free as possible. I'll have more to say about that in a minute. And then the final is, especially around Christmas time, but really with all the holidays, is not to compensate. Each of you is in a different situation. Not to compensate, meaning you feel guilty or you feel shame, you feel various kinds of negative feelings about the fact that you're going through a divorce. It may be, obviously, part of it is your responsibility for that happening, and part of it is your ex's, and wherever you feel it, bad about the fact that your kids are having to go through this holiday season without their father or their mother, and you feel bad about that, and you want to have them be okay, and so then you start to compensate and many times overcompensate. So watch for that. Your kids are going to have the experience that they're going to have, and I'm going to be talking about some things that you can do that'll make it much more pleasurable for them and hopefully for you too. But just watching for that. So I want to go now into a couple of tips for the holidays. The major one, and this is a really significant one, is the addiction that you and your kids have to the computer, to the iPhone, to the iPad, to the games, the electronic. And I'm saying that you and your children have, because it is endemic. Almost everybody in our culture has an addiction to it. I'm using the word addiction within a very tight definition that would say that if I were to come to you and say, okay, for the next 3 days, you can't use your cell phone, you can't watch television, you can't use your computer, almost always people freak out. And that's exactly what happens when you tell somebody they can't drink or can't use whatever drug of choice they have. So, but really to not take this on like this is like I'm indicting you for doing something horrible, just to recognize how critically important it is during the holiday season when you have the opportunity to be with your kids, not on your cell phone or computer, and they're not on their cell phone or computer. See, the issue here that we're really trying to get at is attachment, and most of you have probably heard of attachment theory. Well, what's happened is that starting at a young age, many kids have gotten attached to their to the electronic, to the little screens or the bigger screens, and then over time they start getting attached to their peers, not authentically and not really, but through Facebook and other social media kind of interfaces. And so what we're trying to do is provide a really solid opportunity during the holidays where you can because it's a different time in your schedule, is provide you an opportunity for them to attach to you. Excuse me. Many parents don't realize how important this is, and I'm just I'm really framing this strongly because in all the work that I've done and all the research that I've done over the years, I find that what kids have such a deep longing for and deep need for, more than longing, is to be able to attach to their parents. And in our programs, we stress how critical it is going through a divorce that each parent be as emotionally stable as possible, so that the children have at least one parent that they can attach to, one parent who's solid, so to speak, and not an emotional wreck. I'm being, forgive me for saying emotional wreck. I don't really. I'm just trying to be shorthanded. But a lot of times, one of the parents is not doing their emotional work. One of the parents is not doing not doing counseling, not doing our kind of 10-week program. They might be dating almost immediately, getting into new relationships almost immediately, or having mental health issues, addiction issues, whatever it is. They are not the parent that the children can attach to. So I'm really urging you to be that parent so that you can really consciously and deliberately be as solid and secure as you can and get the support you can in doing that. So I'm going to invite your suggestions in a couple of minutes. So if you think about you spending time with your kids, that's the most important thing that you can do during the holidays, just spending time with your kids. And so everything from, depending on the age, of course, reading to them. There's so many different books to read, and especially holiday books and so forth. There's a woman in England who has a website. It's Jackie Lawson. I'm going to spell it JACQUIE LAWSON, JACQUIE LAWSON.com. She has all kinds of e-cards, but one of the most amazing ones is an Advent calendar, and it's not the typical calendar. There's all kinds of interactive kinds of activities that you can do with your kids that are fun, interesting, creative, good music. Just really encourage it. It's only $5, and you can download it constantly for a whole year. Really valuable. My family, my wife and I enjoy it. My older kids enjoy it. Everybody really has fun with it. So so going out in nature, depending on where you live, I know that Sarah lives up in the cold climate in Canada, but many of us live in warmer climates and some not. So depending on what nature is for you, taking your kids in it, and I would suggest trying to do that every single day. The screens take us away from nature, and it's such a important part of nurturing ourselves. And so one of the simple things that I did with my children was on Christmas, Father's Day, and on my birthday, I would say to the kids, the only gift I want is for you to go on a hike with me and not complain. And they did that, and now they love to hike. That was part of my agenda, but part of it is I just wanted to be out in nature with them and experience it. And of course, the hikes have to fit their age and physical ability. There's so many different games that you can get that are age appropriate. That they're just I'm amazed at the range of games that are now available. Jigsaw puzzles. There's all phenomenal range of puzzles in terms of number of pieces. There's some really interesting puzzle manufacturers now that the pieces themselves, how they fit together, form different shapes, and really interesting. Baking and cooking together. I know growing up, that was when I was younger, that was something that I always enjoyed doing, creating, cookies. My grandfather was a baker, and so got to do some things with him. So just really look fondly back, and actually now even today when I can bake some things for the holidays. Music, there's so many different kinds of music available for the holidays that you can have an emphasis on when you're doing your activities, that would be enjoyable. Driving in the car, if you're driving from, oftentimes we're driving to some kind of events. Again, screen free, all kinds of things to do in the car, all kinds of games, conversation. But I can tell you this, that with my daughters and my stepkids, some of our most meaningful connections were in the car, screen free, and and really interesting bonding time. Um, Gifts. Really want to emphasize that less is more, and I also want to emphasize it's probably helpful, usually helpful if you can, to coordinate with your ex. The two of you deciding what you're going to buy, each of you, so you're not both buying duplicates, and also avoiding the tendency to compete with each other and see, who can give the most gifts and get, be the most popular parent. And that's a really dangerous and unnecessary thing to do. So really, if you can put your emphasis on the time with the children and that have that be quality versus spending a lot of time buying the gifts, which is many people get really, really stressed out because they have to buy all these gifts and also the money that's involved. So those are some simple tips that I've learned. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about before we invite questions, suggestions. The children ought never to hear anybody say anything negative about your ex when you're with them. And so oftentimes when we go to visit relatives, um, when the children are supposedly not around, you'll hear your aunt or uncle or grandparent or whatever say, well, I never really liked her or him, or he was a loser. Really negative things that are not good for your kids to hear, not good for you to hear either. So to really, there are certain relatives that you can anticipate maybe being inclined to do that. And so my experience is to say, use me as a as a reference, as the expert. It's really bad because the kids hear that. A lot of times they'll maybe they're coming in for a cookie or for some refreshment, and they'll hear it, and it really has a negative effect on them. It has a negative effect on you too. So really having a boundary about not talking about the ex at all, and that includes them asking you how he or she is doing, and the response, a simple response is, hey, we're separated, we're divorced, and we don't connect that way anymore, and so I don't really know, and so I really not wanting to talk about him or her, and just being very simple, assertive, and direct about it. There are, for the kids, certain family members that just are better with the kids. An aunt, an uncle, a good friend of yours, or good friends of yours. They're just good with the kids. And so if you can invite them to join you in some of the activities, and so this is part of it is support, and part of it is their sense of connection and community, and really having fun together with different people. And there are certain relatives that are really challenging to be with. So really minimize the amount of time that you spend with them. Be real, because if you don't want to be with them, oftentimes your kids don't want to be with them, and it's just a negative experience. So minimizing that as much as possible. So that's those are some simple um, things to think about when you're going into the holidays. And then with your ex, making sure that you're both on the same page about what the schedule is, and if you're going to be traveling, where you're going, phone numbers, and when you're going to be back, or when he or she is going to do that, just so you're really clear. And so for the kids, this is the final point before we go into questions. For the kids, for them to know what's going to happen, what the schedule is, I found it to be really critical with all the kids. I have two biologicals and two step kids, and so I've been through this myself. And so really having stability, predictability, they know what's happening is really, really important. So I'd invite those of you who, excuse me for hiccuping, are online to, I'm just wondering, Ingrid, I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts, questions, reflections, suggestions for folks having listened to this. Ingrid, can you unmute yourself?
Really quick also, Nick, I want to do a quick poll and ask people to try that out. So
Sure.
if you see the poll come up here, then
So Ingrid's not going to see.
do you have the ability to do that, Nick, since I made you host?
No.
See where it says poll. All right, I'm going to try and take back.
Yeah. So apparently Ingrid either isn't hearing me, or it's *6. Is that what it is?
Yes.
So apparently Ingrid's not there. Oh, there you are, Ingrid.
Yeah. Okay. Hi again.
Hi. So just, reflections, questions, suggestions, thoughts, about what I said.
Yeah. I have 3 kids and they're all adults. They have all graduated from college. They're out of the parental home. I really don't have any questions at this point, just simply because I don't have any small children anymore. So I just think the session really doesn't fully apply to my situation. But
well, I could probably get to that in a minute. As a mom of formerly young kids, do you have any suggestions for people who have children?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail when you were, I liked your suggestion about leaving out the, phones, technology, TV, and really take this time to spend time with the kids and get out in nature, and typically getting out in the nature. I think that's what helps everyone to get closer and become more centered again. I think that's a great suggestion. I like your suggestion about not being competitive as to when you're buying your gifts for the kids, so you don't feel like you're outdoing each other to be a favorite. I think that's a great idea. And yeah, I mean, I'm just dreading Christmas this year because that's when it all started for me, the breakup, and this is the first Christmas that our family is not together.
So what does it look like then? What are you planning so far?
Well, we're all in a very transitional phase right now because we sold the family home we lived in for 20 years, and we're in the rental home right now. The kids don't live in the same state, so 2 of the 3 are coming home, and honestly, I mean, I'm going to see 2 of the 3 kids for Thanksgiving, And at this point, we've been avoiding Christmas and haven't even really talked about it, but we will do so during Thanksgiving.
When you say you're avoiding that, can you say more?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You said you were avoiding talking about Christmas. I'm wondering why are you avoiding it?
We're avoiding it because last year at Christmas time, my husband came home with a 13-page letter addressed to the kids, telling them that he is unhappy and wanted to move on. So it's really difficult for all of us, including the kids, to relive this Christmas because that's when it all started, the breakup for us. So, and it's the first Christmas season.
Got it. Well, that's helpful. That's helpful to know. So my suggestion, Ingrid, is to be very creative and to do as much as you can to, maybe not. It's about being together. Do you have grandkids yet or no?
No.
So maybe it's not. Those kind of situations. Maybe it's you go someplace else, like to some hot springs, overnight, or something that's really not at home, not with the Christmas tree. Sometimes it's just helpful to break, just for at least 1 year, to break the old pattern as much as possible and create something new. And in my experience, a whole new context. You're at a hot spring, or you're at a resort, or wherever it is, and everything's different, and you're not necessarily cooking. So you might think about that rather than trying to, given the nature, not everybody needs to do that, but given the nature of what you just said, I get how painful last year was. And I'm sorry, that was painful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because that's the last thing I want to do is visualize myself sitting in front of the tree as we all did last year, and instead of celebrating Christmas, being presented with a 13-page breakup letter. So I think to go out and go to a hot springs or a resort or something and do something like that, and not celebrate in the home for them. I mean, we'll do to some degree, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for sharing. And later on, you might have another suggestion, and I'll keep you in mind as we're talking here about the adult needs that you have. Thank you. Sarah, do you have any questions? Thoughts, reflections?
I'm lucky. My daughter is 18, and the kids have been kind of with me through this whole thing. My husband told us at the lake that he was leaving us, and then left our summer home and left us at the lake to deal with the emotional fallout. We're already trying to think of some new traditions to do. We always used to walk to a local tree lot to get our Christmas tree, all of us together with a toboggan, go get the tree that way. And we're thinking of going to a tree farm and cutting down our tree and just making it a different day and doing something completely new. And we're kind of going to change up some of the Christmas decorations and stuff like that. We're in a brand new house this year as well. This is our first Christmas in this house, the kids and I. So for us, we're just trying to kind of make some new traditions, but we're also making sure we're hosting all the holidays. We already had Thanksgiving here in Canada, and we hosted Thanksgiving here just because the kids and I decided we wanted to fill the house with some new happy memories with our families. And so, with our family, my family. So I think Christmas morning is going to be interesting. I'm not quite sure what to do about that for the kids. I think it's going to be hard for them, just the three of us, as opposed to having the four of us here.
Right.
and it's hard for me, and I'm worried. The kids see me cry. Like, this has been hard on all of us, but they do see me cry, and I don't generally hold my tears back from them, but I am also the one that will be with them when they need to cry, and I'm the one that gives them their hugs and you know, try to smooth things over between them and their dad and stuff when they're having any issues. But yeah, I think Christmas morning is going to be probably our struggle. That'll be the hard part.
Got it.
But
So,
yeah.
You're living in a different house though, right?
Yeah, we moved last year. So last year was our last Christmas at our old house, and it was a beautiful, like, you know, early 1900s big house with a big traditional living room where we had a big Christmas tree and all the decorations. And we're in a smaller modern house now, so we're just gonna have to get a different kind of tree. It has to be a skinnier tree. We always get real trees, so
Right. So
it's just different.
So in the perfect world, Sarah, not the perfect world, let me retract that. What would, as you imagine Christmas morning, given what you just said and how challenging your think is, you know, you're just not looking forward to it. But imagine with me for a second that it's now Christmas evening and you've been through a whole day.
Yeah, and we've had dinner here with
And
the family.
But including the morning, okay? What would you say would make it possible for you to feel like, you know, it was a good day? Starting from the time you woke up. You have any ideas about that?
I think it'll be fine until everyone leaves, because then that's when my husband and I used to wrap the stocking presents. We get wrapped on Christmas Eve night, and then we would go downstairs and put them by the fireplace and, you know, get all the presents set and organized and looking great, and for the kids to come down in the morning. We did that every year. They're 18 and 17 and we still did that. So
Right.
So I think once everyone leaves and I'm doing the stockings on my own, that's going to be, yeah, I think I'll, you know, have some Baileys and call a girlfriend and just have a girlfriend, I think, on the phone with me while I wrap stocking presents.
So that was going to be my suggestion, is that you do reach out for support. Light on the Baileys.
Maybe just one.
So I can certainly relate to how good that is. Are you doing stockings because that's what the kids would expect?
Yeah, that's just what we do. I've always done stockings. I can't imagine, like, in some ways I don't want to change up their whole Christmas experience and take away every tradition that they've grown up with.
Right. For some people it's necessary to change it up. So that's all.
Yeah.
What about food on Christmas morning?
Well, I always used to make, I used to get croissants from the store and like kind of heat them up for them and everything in the morning. So I think maybe I'll try something new this year instead of having croissants.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion, is you try something new beverages, new food, music, whatever, like change as many things as you can up.
Yeah.
And so just again, think, for yourself too, what would please you, at the end of the day. So it sounds like you're well on your way, but and take in mind the things I said earlier.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
The one thing I have an interesting dilemma is my daughter doesn't understand why her dad and I can't go in on her birthday gift together. And I kind of looked at her, I said, well, but we aren't going to be together necessarily on your birthday to give you your birthday gift, which is on the 23rd of December. And so he's going to be listening to this later. He says he wants to listen to the recording, but so I don't quite know what to do about that for them. Like they certainly have different expectations on their presents, and it was different when there was, we were buying gifts as a family, but now there's going to be two people buying gifts. And so the gifts aren't going to be quite as large as maybe they used to be.
Right.
But I kind of told my daughter that we weren't going halfers on her birthday present and that maybe dad and I just give her cash and she can go and get the big present on her own.
Right, and that way you would be doing it together still.
In some ways, yes.
Yeah. So, where you can collaborate and where it just doesn't feel right. And don't, but am I saying that, I'm not just saying this to you, Sarah, but to everybody. Some people cannot cooperate or collaborate with their exes because the relationship is so toxic, or their ex is, there's all kinds of issues. And I've had hundreds of people that I've worked with, so I can tell you lots of stories. So it just, when you can collaborate or cooperate, do. And when that's not possible, then you'll figure something else out. So it sounds like you're on the right path with that.
Yeah.
Good. Lisa, I'm wondering if you have any questions, suggestions based on your situation. Lisa, are you there? There you are. Good.
Sorry. This is actually my third Christmas,
Okay.
and I'm still learning, and it still takes time to figure out the right things. But one of the things I remember doing is really asking my kids what were the things they needed to keep and what were the things that we could let go of. And one thing that came up was my son was like, I really want a tree. And I wasn't even sure about getting a tree.
Right.
And he really took ownership over it and drove us to get it and put it in his truck. And so I still really feel like it's their holiday. It's our holiday, but it's their holiday.
Uh-huh.
And so that's just become my mantra is, what do you need from the holidays? How can I support you in that? So, and it changes all the time. They're getting older and they have different needs. They want to maybe have time with their friends, or ski, or have quiet time, and they're busy. So that's what I learned the first time, and I've just kind of stuck to it. And then definitely, like Sarah, we moved, and it was so nice to have just a different place. Like, nobody knew where the stockings went. Nobody knew where the wreath went. Nobody knew where the candles went. Nobody knew where the decorations went. So it became kind of our project together as a new design family to figure it out. So that part worked out really well.
Got it. And how about you? Were there any things that you did for self-care that you could suggest others think about?
It's taken me years to be good at that. At the time, I was good about, like, my parents came that year, which they hadn't come for Christmas for years because of the weather and things like that. And I let them, which it was nice. And then I've never been a big fan of screen time and things like that. And they love to play cards and play games and do puzzles. And so we just kind of had all of that at our fingertips and really scheduled it. We made sure we were at the table every night at 7:00 to play cards, and it was fun and heated, and it was good. So that's important to my kids. So I knew that was good. So for me, self-care was really just letting people help me, which is not my usual.
Can you repeat that, Sarah? I mean, not Sarah, Lisa.
Yeah, letting people help me.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Letting people help me. And we laugh, but that's been my hardest part in this process and journey.
And so letting people help you is one thing. Asking people to help you is another thing, right?
Yeah, and I'm not so sure I'm good at that.
Well, we took a vote and found out that it was close, but it's still an area for improvement.
I agree. I'm getting better, but I think I will probably take a good rest of my lifetime. I think what has happened though is I'm good at asking for space and permission to do things at the speed and time I need to do them.
Can you say a little more? That's a little confusing. Space?
Like sometimes it's not that I need you to do anything. Sometimes I just need the space. Like sometimes I do just need to be alone, and I'm okay, you know.
Got it.
Or I need like people will be like, well, just join us at the gym or come to this party, and I just can't, and I don't want to, and I'm okay with that. And that's been a big curve too, of just saying, you know what, I don't have enough energy for that. It's not going to enhance my life. It's just going to add chaos to my life. And so I like that first year. I know people were kind of like, do you have something to do, and come here and come there. And I really got good at saying, we're just going to hunker down as us and do us. And each year I get a little better about being like, okay. But even now we just go away. But I still, like Thanksgiving, a couple of people just asked us if we want to do something, and I've had to say no. But that's because my son's getting his wisdom teeth out the day before, and we're all kind of okay with that. Like, Thanksgiving is not our favorite holiday, and we all just said, okay, we're going to have smoothies and watch movies and spend Thanksgiving together like that.
Got it.
Mm.
Good. Well, thanks. Those are helpful, just reinforcing things that we already talked about. So grateful for that.
Thank you.
Kevin, you have had the experience with younger kids going through your first holiday season too. And so do you have any thoughts, reflections, suggestions?
I would say, so I had a little bit different in that, when my wife moved out in around September of the year, and then that Christmas, and I have a lot of family nearby, and there's a lot of tradition for us around things. So there was a lot around trying to figure out, she was the one who had wanted to end the marriage. She was the one who had, she kind of had a lot to go through within herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really was a case of, I was the stability for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
It just naturally, I mean, they lived with me. And so it was a little bit for me of trying to give my still wife at the time, in the first year, some space to join us as she could. And yet we were also knew that divorce was coming. So we tried to keep the traditions that we could. I'm trying to keep things stable for the boys. I can relate to Sarah, her, there's a lot of, I was very tearful a lot and just trying to hold it all together. And yet I really didn't want to be around her that first year.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to do things like, we didn't do anything together for Thanksgiving. She was okay with not being around for Thanksgiving. So I spent that with family and the kids. And then Christmas was sort of the high point where then we had to figure out how did we handle that. And she was okay with what we used to go, well, we still do. We go to church on Christmas Eve. And so she had the boys for dinner Christmas Eve. Then we met at church, and then they came home with me. She had made her stockings and things that she wanted me to put in the stockings, and then she gave those to me surreptitiously or sneakily at the church, and then I put them in the stockings for the boys. And then the next morning the boys woke up, and I told them they have to wait for her to come over. So she came over in the morning and helped open presents and spent a little bit of time with us. And then we we planned it so that we would go down to my brother's house mid-morning, just so that she had an easy out. She really was, that was about as much as she could handle. And frankly, it was about as much as I could handle to be around her. I was still pretty angry at her for things. And so, you know, it was sort of like, okay, we can mentally prepared for a few hours, and then we separated and went our own ways. So that's kind of how it happened.
Okay. So, so it sounds like you really took the primary role in it wasn't as divided as with some people, with the holiday.
Yeah, no, it was, you know, we had a fairly amicable divorce in terms of that we both wanted to make it as good as possible for the kids. We each had our own emotions, strong emotions for things. So, you know, that was the issue, was just, it was unspoken really at the time that let's just get through this for the kids and then separate.
So, thanks, Kev. So there are obviously, when we're dealing with small children, elementary school children, junior high school, and adults, there's different ways that we have to relate to their needs and yours too. And so my encouragement is, as possible, to talk about, not in an overwhelming way, but it's there's going to be sadness and grief, and sometimes anger that comes up because the family, what was is never going to be again.
Right.
And so there's often anger about that too, because we oftentimes, if we have painful feelings and we don't know what to do with them, they oftentimes erupt as anger. And so point I'm getting to is, with trying to create a space and time where people can talk about their emotions rather than just having to stuff them or to be angry or to not know. And sometimes people, they don't get a chance to talk about it, they start getting depressed, and as a result, it affects the whole environment too. So really encourage it wherever possible to, it may not be on the holidays themselves, but in that time frame, to have some adult conversations with the adult kids, or even junior high school kids, and the younger kids, depending on the kid, they sometimes need to be held and cry and grieve.
Yeah,
Simple plots.
Well, I do want to say one of the things that I did tell them before the holidays came, and when I said this when my wife moved out to them, was I just said, look, things are going to be different. There's going to be, your mom is going to have different rules at her house. How we interact is going to be different. The holidays are going to be different. And so, at the time, my older son, who was 9, I think he didn't believe in Santa, but he wasn't willing to actually say that because he didn't want the presents to go away. And so, but when it started getting closer to the way he started asking about Santa and how things were going to go, I said, I don't know, things with your mom not here, things might be different for Christmas, and things are going to change, and we've got to figure that out. So it's going to be different. And I think that made a difference for all of us to set the stage that change was coming, because they were really leaning on to, I don't want anything to change.
Of course.
So.
Of course. Right. Well, good. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
So, I know we talked about it being 45 minutes to an hour long, and I'm just kind of want to do a quick coming back. Sarah, I'm wondering if you can unmute.
Yep.
Perfect.
Sorry.
So I just kind of wanted to do, well, for you personally, Sarah, I was going to have few more suggestions given the emotionality that you were apprehensive about and know that you're still feeling. So I'm wondering if, in the next couple of days, I can just get 5 minutes with you to give you a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, that would be really, really kind of you, actually.
So my telephone number is 720
Uh-huh.
524
Yeah.
3664.
Okay.
And just feel free to give me a call if I'm, tied up. You can just leave a message and I'll get back with you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And so, just as we start closing down, any further thoughts or reflections on our time together?
For me, this was super helpful. I really actually appreciate it's nice to hear what Lisa has to say. It sounds like her kids are older too, and if she's kind of gone through it all, it was really good to hear what another family has done. So, and the kids actually are really on board with me with making some new traditions and doing different things than we used to do. So,
Got it. Good.
yeah.
Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Ingrid, any afterthoughts, reflections as we wind down?
Yeah, as I was listening to everyone, I think I'm just terrified about Christmas this year because, as I said, this is when it all started falling apart for us, and I just don't want to relive those days, and I need to I need to incorporate some new traditions as well. We've been married for over 30 years, and like one of the other ladies was saying, I don't want to take all the traditions away from them. I mean, my kids are all in their 20s, so they are all adults, but still we're gonna be together for Christmas. My daughter is living overseas right now, so she won't be here. But the two boys will be here, and I can't celebrate the same way we've been celebrating for the last 30 years. I have to do something different.
So again, same as what I said to Sarah, if there's some individual support I can provide, just give me a call. I don't know if you made note of my telephone number.
No, I did not. But hang on, let me grab a pen real quick. Okay, go ahead, please.
720-524-3664.
3664.
Right.
Okay.
So that's
Wonderful.
anybody else who's listening to the recording. Kevin and I are really committed to supporting you through this process of rebuilding your life, and we're here with all different kinds of resources and ways to support. So please reach out and let us know what you need, either by email or by phone call.
Okay.
And Lisa, any afterthoughts for you?
Well, the reason I kind of jumped on is because I tend to get worked up before and the anxiety of it. And I kind of heard that, from all of us. So that's kind of why I decided to jump on, is just to remind myself. And I'm a couple years away from it, but the buildup is way worse than the actual days. And like Ingrid, one of my worst days was the day before Thanksgiving with my husband. And so the first year without him, I was kind of dreading reliving it. And we just found things to do to be busy, but I still kind of get worked up ahead of time. And then it kind of comes and goes and we have a great time and stay present. So I need to remember that the buildup is worse. And that you have a plan, you're fine. And it's just one day or a couple of days. And that, and they've told me they remember, the time we spend, not the specific day anyway. So it was good to
Yeah.
just be reminded.
The final point I'd like to make is about, and sometimes it might not be you, but it be your ex. The holidays are a special time, and I'm amazed at how some people can be so insensitive to their children's needs and how they go about the holidays, and not just the holidays, but especially at the holidays. And so, sometimes showing up with a new girlfriend or boyfriend and expecting everybody to be delighted to meet this person, when that's the last thing anybody in the room wants to do. And it becomes a very painful and negative experience, and then negative for the new girlfriend or boyfriend. And, so my suggestion is, unless they've already met the person and feel comfortable with them, talk to you or your ex, really, talk about not doing that, because it really makes it painful. When dad comes in with a 13-page letter on Christmas, horrible. For dad or mom to show up with a new girlfriend or boyfriend on the holidays, horrible. Just creates a negative template for years to come. So just to really be mindful about that too. So
Yeah.
Kevin, any afterthoughts on your part before we shut down?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you were brilliant earlier, so thank you. Everybody, thanks for joining.
Oh, Nick, I actually have one really cool thing that I wanted to share with everyone that I really liked around, my girlfriend Julie shared this with me. And it's a really cool thing thinking about, something she does, she's a grief, does grief support. And they use this idea of the Rolodex. So everybody's heard of, the old Rolodex files with the flip cards to keep track of contacts. And they use this for grief, and it has to do with support and the types of support that are out there. So the letters of a Rolodex are ROLODEX, is how you spell it. And so she breaks the support down into different groups based off of the word Rolodex. So think about that you have a group of people out there that that she calls that you can find respite with. So the R's, respite. And those are people that in your life you might think about that just give you a break from the pain. They're just the people that'll go dancing, go play with you, get your mind off of things. The L in Rolodex stands for listeners. So people that don't judge, they can just listen and be with you. Then there's people in your life that you can find that are doers, people that want to help, to give you some space, maybe mow the lawn, make a turkey for you, whatever, help you move, those types of things is the D. And then there's E for experts. So therapists, programs, courses, Facebook group support, things like that you can go to basically look for other people that are, give you support in someone who's going through or knows what you're going through. And then the last one is X, and that's truly people that are not helpful, and being willing to understand and categorize people to say, this person is not helping me. And so you can cross them off your list. So I like that, just in terms of thinking about, it's helpful to have all of those kinds of people in your life, and thinking about the ones that can support you and help you in this time of giving you the support you need. So I just want to share that with you.
So respite, you said, right?
Respite, listeners, doers, experts, and then X for cross people off the list.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. That was good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, everybody, wishing you all the best in the holiday season, and hopefully see or hear from you again as we continue to roll out different programs over the next months to come. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you.